Namaste. Well, welcome back to Hour 3 of Care24.Global. My name is Laura Christensen, your MC for the hour. If you're just joining us, a very warm welcome from Hong Kong. And if you have been with us since the start, we are very thrilled to have everyone on the show. Again, this program is about spreading optimism as we meet the future. We're venturing into our Hour 3 with what I would call a heavyweight speaker, because we have with us the Group CEO from Hong Kong BroadBand Network Limited, which will be sharing with us his journey at Hong Kong BroadBand Network and how he leads his team of talents through the crisis. We have with us the honorable speaker, Mr. Nick Lai, who will be sharing with us on the topic of defining our post-COVID legacy today. Let's give Nick a warm virtual welcome. Nick, over to you.
Thank you, Laura. So first of all, good day. Good day means good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. So good day to everyone. Thank you for your time. I look forward to spending the next 20 minutes with you. My title is called Chase for Failure in order to find your limits, in order to find success. I think failure is an essential ingredient towards heading to success. In school, we are limited. We are always boxed in. 10 out of 10 equals perfection. In life, 15 out of 20 is far better than perfection. And life is so much more fun when you take away the denominator, when you make the denominator infinite. So this is what I would encourage us to do, to look at life as infinite. It's about maximizing the score, not getting the most answers right. And this is how we run HKBN. We break down the barriers. Maybe I share a little bit about my background before we go into Hong Kong broadband. I was an immigrant to Australia. I was a pure C-grade student throughout my academic career. I wanted to be a professional tennis player, but I couldn't play tennis, so I became an accountant. I was almost bankrupt twice, in '97 and again in 2008. So a lot of bumps along the road. But looking back in hindsight, it's because of these bumps that we have the lessons that we benefit from today. Because I've made these mistakes in the past, we hope to avoid them going forward in the future. Hong Kong Broadband, what do? We are here to make our home, our Hong Kong, a better place to live. This is the whole ethos of what we do. If you look back at our almost 30-year history, the first decade, we made international long-distance calling affordable for the masses. If you go back to the 90s, calling international was prohibitively expensive. So families that lived apart overseas could not afford to talk to each other. Small companies could not afford to pay for long-distance calling to talk internationally. What we did was we collapsed the price of international calling in Hong Kong and made it affordable to everyone. I'm so proud today that even today, there are couples that come up to me in a social environment and say, thank you for making it affordable for us to date. Let me bring you to the present. So what Hong Kong Broadband does is we make broadband affordable for the masses. In the 2000s, when broadband first introduced, the incumbent will price the broadband about 500 Hong Kong dollars a month. This is too expensive for the masses. So what we did was we priced it at $99 and made it affordable. What we did was we took the income pyramid, rich people on top, poor people on the bottom, and we actually turned it upside down and started the less affluent. Started in the public housing estates first, and now we're working our way to rich people. We joke about it, but in the early days, we say we don't do rich people. So if you live at the peak, you can stick with the old legacy service of the incumbent. Everything we do, we have to have LUCA, or we don't do it. LUCA stands for Legal Unfair Competitive Advantage. So everything we do, we have to have LUCA. David versus Goliath. This is actually history that was mistaught. It was taught wrongly. If we go back and look at the rules of the game, David versus Goliath, and we tell you up front, this is going to be a fight to the death. This is going to be a fight from a distance, and it's going to be about speed and agility and accuracy from a distance. Then there's an absolute no-brainer. David was the outright favorite going into this fight because he was fighting against a slow-moving brute. So this is actually mispriced arbitrage in terms of odds placing. David is the favorite. This is how we run our company. Every fight we pick, and we only pick fights that we know we can win, we intend to win because we have a defined legal unfair competitive advantage, or LUCA. This is what we do. You may ask, what does HK BroadBand actually do? Well, we kick ass big time. KABT. We kick ass big time. If you look at this slide chart, we're on top. We are the David. All the underperforming peers are the Goliaths of the industry. The way we run our business is similar to how Romans built those phenomenal aqueducts, many of which are still standing today. Hong Kong BroadBand is built and run by 990 co-owners. In the old days, the Romans would build a bridge. After it's built, they'll put the bridge builder underneath and then move away the supporting structure. If you want to live, you better have a safe bridge. Now think about this in modern day. When we do build a massive infrastructure bridge, there are lots of conflicts. The designer wants to win design awards. The construction company wants to use the cheapest materials. The safety team wants to just meet regulatory requirements rather than the actual safety. So there's natural conflicts. By the time you accumulate all this up, you have an unsafe bridge. At our company, what we do is we make the bridge builders and our families live underneath the bridge. And then you can be assured of a very safe bridge. If you look at our company, it's actually run by co-owners. We have 990 co-owners. This slide's a little out of date. But the composition is that the top executives have all elected by choice to put money into the company. Now, I emphasize the difference. Many companies have stock options. They're given to you for free. But in our company, we're given an invitation. And every co-owner is here by choice. I am incredibly proud of my title. My title says co-owner and XXX, group CEO. But I share my title, the co-owner, with 990 co-owners. If you call our hotline, chances are the person picking up the phone is no more than one, maybe two levels removed from a co-owner. So very, very deep ownership in our company. Ownership comes with pain. Ownership, I mentioned, requires us to put our family life savings into the company. It's not given to us. And pain is an essential part of life. Think about this. When we were kids, when we started playing with fire, you learn not to play with fire because we got burnt. I still remember as a child getting burnt, and I had to put my finger in an ice bucket overnight because it was so painful. And since then, I have not played with fire. That's what executives need. We need to have the feeling of pain because most companies that only give the pleasure of gain will always get into trouble. Think about this. In life, if we have no pain, we will always be burning and cutting ourselves. So it's an essential part of the balance. In our company, and I have many of them in the background today in this room, we have no staff in our company. We only have talents. Think about this. Would you like to be called a staff or a talent? As such, at HKBN, we do not have a single staff. We only have 6,000 talents. We are an elite sports team. We are not a family. An elite sports team means that we are very selective and we only offer conditional love based on performance. If you want unconditional love, please go home to your family. We exit the bottom 5% of our salary base every year. So it's a forced ranking, and the bottom 5% are asked to leave. This is because every company, no matter which company you are, has limited resources. So Leadership is about making a choice on how to deploy the resources. We choose to focus on the top 95% of the company rather than the bottom 5%. We prefer to make a B player into an A+ player than turn around an F player to a D player. That's the way we run our company. Today I hear about a lot of people talking about, what's the other term that they use? Well, I think it's work-life balance or something like that. We throw that out the door. In our company, there is no such thing as work-life balance. We focus on life-work priority. This is not a balance. It's life in capital letters, work in small letters, and it's a priority. You know, it's a predefined priority. This is why we work shorter hours. Maybe I'll share a little bit of my history. I was an investment banker for a decade before I joined this company. And in that decade, you can count on one hand how many dinners I was able to make home by 6:30 at night. A normal weekday dinner in a decade, less than one handful. That is simply wrong. So in our company, we want to make having dinner at home the norm rather than the exception. This is why, on a cumulative basis, we work 35 days less a year than your typical 220 working days for a normal Hong Kong working company. COVID. When COVID happened, we have to make decisions. And our ethos is perfect is the enemy of good. So you have to make decisions based on incomplete information. And this comes down to having a strong core purpose. I'll go back to our core purpose. Make our home a better place to live. So it's very, very clear when we make decisions. So going back to the very beginning of COVID, back in February, we decided that economically times are tough. So we will offer 1 month free service to our entire customer base. This is 1/12 of our revenue. Then we followed up. Even with offering 1 month free, we felt that some families, the underprivileged, could simply not afford broadband. Now, imagine trying to work from home, study from home, entertain from home, interact from home with no broadband. I can't imagine that. At Hong Kong Broadband, we offer a lifeline service. So we decided to give 10,000 free lines to the less privileged families. This is about 1% of our total paid lines. We also felt graduates were incredibly difficult to find jobs in this current environment. So we hired 100 graduates, which is 10 times more than we need. The substantial government subsidy that we just partly received last week, we passed within 24 hours of receiving the last payment, 100% to our colleagues. We did not keep anything for ourselves. All in all, this whole Tough Times Together campaign cost us around 300 million Hong Kong dollars, or around 25% of our annual free cash flow. We did this simply because it's the right thing to do. We have an obligation to our stakeholders, not just our shareholders. So our stakeholders include many components, such as our customers, our colleagues, our partners, etc. Our culture, let me sum it up. We are humbly arrogant. We want you to either love it or hate it. If you love it, come join us. If you don't, don't. So it's a distinct culture. It's not indifference. In short, let me just conclude. I believe you have to chase failure. You have to chase failure to break your comfort limitations. Failure is a prerequisite for success. Thank you very much.
Why don't we have a bit of an interaction? I was so interested about your company culture, how you divide, responsibility, how you divide work, how you integrate everything, and how you have shareholders that are skin in the game so that we all work for the same goal, etc., etc. So my question really is, during COVID, we see that there is a lot of change in paradigm. Do you see a change in paradigm in the culture within your company?
Indeed. Our paradigm is actually constant. Our paradigm is change or die, and we want to live.
Okay.
So change becomes the norm rather than an exception.
Yes.
We believe COVID is a game-changing, permanent change. Right? It's not a temporary change. And COVID is the next ice age. We're going to evolve to embrace it.
What is, if I may ask, what is one or two of the more frequently discussed notions in the past few months in your company? What is constantly being brought up during COVID?
Well, there's always the balance. Do we invest in this community, or do we invest or make money for our shareholders?
Right.
In our case, we look at the big picture and go back to our core purpose, make our home a better place to live. That's why we gave away 1 month free broadband. Now, 1 month free broadband is not going to change your household income that much, but we hope it will inspire other companies. Now, imagine if the utility company joined. If your landlord joined. Imagine if the supermarket chains joined and everybody chipped in. I think we'll help create a movement.
Right.
That's what we aim.
So there is this notion about what role do we play in the society and what role do we play commercially. How about within staff members? You know, I'm sure a lot of them are going through a lot of different challenges in their lives and, you know, us being affected by COVID. So what is that notion within staff members, or what you call talent? What is the top topic that's being discussed?
It's the same. I mean, you're right. We don't have any staff, so I wasn't quite relating to your question. But the key point, it goes back down to the core purpose. When there's a conflict, it's very clear. Yeah, and there are always conflicts when you're running a company. There's always a trade-off. But in our case, the trade-off is very, very clear. Our core purpose comes first.
So with that in mind, if there is one thing, I know that there might be a lot of entrepreneurs or even business owners or students, business students watching, maybe some from Baptist University as well. So what is that one advice you would give people, having been through, you know, wanting to be a tennis player, overcoming bankruptcy, and running a very mesmerizing culture company? What is one piece of advice that you would give our audience?
I would say, if you go to a Chinese restaurant, don't ask for Italian. So find the right company. Find your passion. You know, don't seek your passion. So that's why our culture is so distinct. We are a Chinese restaurant. No spaghetti allowed.
唔該，揚州炒飯啊！
Indeed.
Indeed. Thank you so much. Well, I think you would agree with me that, you know, this is a mind-blowing presentation. Thank you. And all the best to things at Hong Kong Broadband.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you so much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up this segment, but stay tuned because we're about to have another exciting segment. Thank you.